He's not like the angry Eagles fan, is he?
No.
Where he's just screaming. I could watch the Eagles traded LaShawn McCoy video for a day, just on loop the whole time.
Chip Kelly, what the hell is wrong with you?
I can watch that video all day long. And then news just breaks that the Eagles tried to trade back for LaShawn McCoy. And Del Reed tweets out, no take backs. I died. I gotta tell you a funny story about Miracle. This happened to me yesterday.
Oh boy.
You're gonna get mad at me because I'm not gonna remember the person's name. Alright.
Okay.
So, who was the goalie for the 1980 Miracle team?
Jim Craig.
Okay, see, you knew that without...
Yeah,
just by snapping your fingers. This is how irrelevant I feel Miracle is in today's society. Because my dad calls me. My sister-in-law is an executive for Comcast, and she had to do this big press conference with Xfinity and Comcast, and he was there. My dad goes, oh, guess what? You know, because the Olympics are coming up, they did this big, announcement, about their coverage for the Olympics. Jim Craig was there. I was like, Dad, I have no idea who that is. The goalie from the Miracle team. I was like, yeah, that happened 2 years before I was born. I just don't really, I didn't get it then, I don't really get it now. Like, oh, well, I just thought you'd think that was cool. I was like, yeah, but
I can slow down to 30 when you get out. That's about as low as I'm going.
Tuck and roll, Grandma.
Which brings me to Mr. McVay. In my research for Kirk Cousins, because everyone's going to want to hear about Kirk Cousins,
Yeah.
bring him to Buffalo. He's going to cost $30 against this year's cap minimum.
$1
$30 million. What did I say, 30?
$30.
I forgot the million.
Yeah, there's an
I did that when I typed, too.
Yeah?
It usually cost me $30. Okay. The other week, these almost cost us $30.
That's right, no kidding.
Give me my change. So I did some research. Cousins has, I think he's 2 games over 500.
Yeah.
Career. He throws for about 260 a game, 27 touchdowns, 13 picks.
Yeah.
Very modest.
Yeah. So, above average. Right?
Slightly.
But barely above average.
Slightly above average.
Sure.
If you have any inclination that these quarterbacks coming out now are going to be better than him, that's the route you go. Or even on the same level. So he didn't really start having those types of seasons until McVay took over OC duties.
Right.
Because that whole RG3 scenario that was going on, he was intermittently starting. I think he went like 1-4, then like 0-3 or something like that. But anyway, when McVay took over, that's when Cousins really started to blossom into this great NFL quarterback. But then you look at Goff's numbers from this year.
Sure.
Throwing for nearly 30 touchdowns, less than 10 picks.
Goff was a disaster last year.
Yeah. So you wonder who was the real hero in that scenario. That wasn't just a mystery that, McVay left and then his play declined. That's why I think a lot of teams are really worried about all this stuff. You got to have the right system for that guy to be successful. I mean, there was a reason he was a 3rd-round pick. So, I mean, that's the thing. I'm going to pay a guy $30 million if he is the top 5 quarterback in the league. I'm not paying you $35 million to throw for under 30 touchdowns, throw a pick a game, and, oh, great, he threw for 4,000 yards. Everyone's going to throw for 4,000 yards in about 4 or 5 years.
And the funny thing about Kirk Cousins is the Redskins are trying to trade him when they have no rights to him. So they still have him, but in order to deal him, a couple things have to happen. They either have to sign him to a contract extension and then trade him. The problem with that is that if you sign him to a contract extension, which I can't imagine he would sign at this point. He's not required to sign one. I can't imagine he'd sign one at this point. If you sign him to a contract extension, it's going to be with almost no signing bonus money because whatever signing bonus is on that deal is immediately going to go against the Redskins cap once you trade him. So if you sign him for a contract 3 years, with a $30 million signing bonus, that $30 million is immediately going to hit the cap. That's going to kill your cap. It's going to kill it.
So wouldn't it behoove Cousins to sign it, to kind of give it to Snyder?
Sure, absolutely. If they franchise tag him, he doesn't have to. No, he doesn't have to sign any contract extension. But if they tag him again, and they could tag him for a third year, if they tag him again, he's going to be a $34 million quarterback. $34 million guaranteed against the salary. 2
teams could take that right now.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Yep.
And San Francisco.
Yeah. And San Francisco is not going to go Cousins over Garoppolo. There's only one team that's taken that deal, and it's the Browns. And the Browns would know that they're the only one that really can absorb that level and still afford to fill out the rest of your roster.
I'm just saying, we talked. There's connections are everything in the NFL.
Yeah.
So there was a connection with Shanahan, and then before Jimmy G got traded there, that was a lot of the talk. Like, oh, Cousins is going to play out this year, and then he's going to go to San Francisco.
Yeah. Right.
So that could be one of those scenarios that ends up playing out because they have so much cap room now. But due to the way that Garoppolo played, why would you?
Exactly.
You're not going to have to pay him $30 million. But, I digress.
Yeah.
You may.
So, if they tag him, Cousins is guaranteed $34 million. And then Washington can trade him, and it costs them nothing to trade him.
Yeah.
So they can get anything they can get for him. But at the same token, you're selling a $34 million player on a 1-year deal, right? Sign-in trades, because the NBA does sign-in trades all the time.
Yes.
Right? Their salary cap works different. It's not like the NFL. So any bonus money that you sign these contracts to, it immediately accelerates against the team's cap, and they can't post June 1st cut a salary cap.
No, you can't.
Acceleration from a signing bonus. It doesn't work like that.
The CBA was designed to be specifically different for that reason. Like you talk about these teams like NBA, Major League Baseball is the same way. What they'll do is, like the Yankees will trade a player, but they'll pay half of his salary.
Mm-hmm.
No, if you have a bonus, because contracts are guaranteed.
Yeah.
If you have a guy that's you trade away in the NFL, you're eating that entire bonus on the chin, and there's no way that the Redskins want to do that. Like, okay, we'll give you this contract, go.
Right.
All right, whatever.
Now, is he going to cost a team $34 million against the cap? No, because there's going to be signing bonus, there's going to be guaranteed money on his contract. He's probably going to get a lot of money in a signing bonus, which gets prorated over the life of the contract. Mm-hmm. So if he's offered a 7-year deal with a $70 million signing bonus, that puts $10 million each year. That means that his starting number is going to be $10 million on the salary cap. Now, if you guarantee him $15 to $20 million a season on top of that, right, and you graduate that guaranteed salary across the next 5 or 7 years, now he's a $25 to $28 million a year player for this year. Yeah. Then that number's going to go up, right? But the signing bonus gets prorated evenly across the life of the contract. That's not counting roster bonuses. That's not counting workout bonuses.
And that's why Cleveland seems such an alluring spot, because you have to have a cash spend each year in the CBA, and you got to be able to. But the way that it works, if you said he signed that $70 million, all that $70 million would go on the first year,
right?
As far as the cash spend goes, and then the base would be the rest of the contract. So
and Cleveland definitely has not spent enough money the last few years. You know, they don't really spend money. But that's the position that the Bills find themselves in. Is there space out there to free up enough space to go get a player? There sure is. But the percentage of the cap that's remaining that he's going to eat up versus filling out the rest of the roster is dangerous. It's a dangerous number. Can you get to $55 million in cap space with the Bills? Sure. But you're going to have a roster of guys that you're not really familiar with. You're going to be minus Jerry Hughes. You're going to be minus Charles Clay. Well, I mean, Charles Clay's debatable. You're going to be minus Cordy Glenn. You're going to be minus Tyrod Taylor. And you still have to replace them. Okay. So where are you getting their replacements? Where are you getting them? So you're going to soak up all that free space money that you've created into one player. Yes, it's the most important player on the field, so I don't want to discount that. But at the same token, from a production standpoint, I don't want the best available. I want the best. And I can't believe that to be Kirk Cousins in a Bills uniform. That's me. Other people are going to see that very differently. I'm just not impressed.
To me, it's like, it's going to sound incredibly stupid, but when have I backed off from doing that? Cousins to me is like everyone else asked girls to the prom, and like you got the pick of the rest of them. And Cousins is the most attractive woman that's left. She's not the prettiest girl that's going to be at the dance, but she's the only one that's like doesn't have a date right now.
Cousins is very much, and we make jokes about Matt Flynn all the time, but Matt Flynn had the most perfect timing of just happenstance, right? Had a couple great games from very
Cousins
Rob Johnson
did it over such a longer period.
Sure, but timing plays into all of this, right?
Yeah,
Because if you look at the big contracts, you look at Rivers, Breeze, they're not until next year, right? None of your heavy hitters, none of your heavy hitters are on the market. So from a timing perspective, Washington's done him a favor by franchise tagging him all along to get him to this year where he's top of the market. Mm-hmm. Because everybody else still has years left on their deal.
Yeah.
So he's very fortunate in that respect to get to where he is. Do I think that he's the answer in Buffalo? No, I don't. Do I think there's other options out there? Of course there are. Are there more affordable options? Without a doubt. Could you get the space to put him on your team? You sure could. But you're going to soak up 65% of your remaining cap space on that one player, and then that one player is going to be an exorbitant amount of money against your cap for the rest of his career.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, like you said, you could release those guys. You can release quarterback, DN, left tackle.
Yeah.
However, you have to replace the quarterback. Okay, but your DN and your left tackle, which you could take at 21-22, if they end up using the non-exclusive tag, you're going to burn those up.
Yeah.
So then you end up using 2 second-round picks on those positions, players that wouldn't be first-rounders,
right,
obviously. But, I mean, the way that it works for me is if you think any of these quarterbacks that are coming out now are anywhere near Cousins, that's where you spend your picks. That's where you could spend your picks on.
Okay.
And I don't understand why everyone keeps saying you got to spend 21-22 and 2019's first to get up to the top 10. Well, if it's going to cost you that much, like we keep talking about just now, Taylor, Hughes, and Glenn gone to get a quarterback. Well, those are 3 players too that you would have drafted.
Right.
So those are 3 players you're getting rid of too, but you just don't know who those players are.
Right.
And draft capital is so. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills were getting calls from KC, from Houston, 2 teams that don't have first-round picks, or anyone else who. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there were teams that passed on a quarterback that need one. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say their quarterback's gone. And, let's say the Jets, for example. Let's say their guy is not there. So they end up taking best available player on the board.
Okay.
They're going to discuss things. Well, maybe not the Jets because it's a division rival. But, no, you get my point. They pass on that. We've seen, as the Vikings, they trade back into the first to try to get their quarterback because you get the 5th-year option.
Right.
So that may be one of those things where if you see a team pass on a quarterback or a player that you thought that they would get, don't be surprised at the Bills getting a lot of phone calls to do that.
Well, and the way that the NFL draft works is most teams, this is, I'm not going to say little known fact, but it's something that a lot of fans might not be aware of. When teams build their big board, right, when they grade out players, and Bill Polian's talked about this for years. He goes, most NFL teams only have between maybe 20 guys with the first-round grade on them because you give players first-round grades who you feel are first-round players, and most teams feel like there's only about 20 of those in a draft, right? So you grade whom you feel to your organization are first-round players, right? Well, of course, everybody's board is different. So you get some guys who are not graded as first-round players drafted, and that pushes the number down. So the Bills sitting at 21 and 22, they're actually rather coveted picks because the Indianapolis did it with Reggie Wayne, right? Indy was sitting there, and here's their guy that they had rated as a top 15 player. Now it's the basement of the first round, and Indy's like, we got to go get him.
Yeah.
And they did, right? And that's what they ended up doing. So 21 and 22 are actually really coveted picks because teams can look at guys that they might have graded, the 14th or 15th best player in the draft, and now it's 22, and it's the Bills' pick. You could go get that player if you want him, right? It's first-round player. You've got him graded as a first-round player. Yeah, and that's what happens. So that's how those decisions.
And we're going
get
to see
made.
that. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills stead pat at 21-22, and those guys got pushed down because of the quarterback market, and they end up just drafting who they rate. They probably have guys that are rated like 14 or 15th on their board that fall to 21-22, and they're like, steal, let's do it.
Exactly. Now, but again, if Cousins has the franchise tag put on, because there's only two ways that Washington can get rid of Cousins and get something for him, is to tag him, right? That's one, or to sign him to a contract extension. Not going to happen. As far as Cousins goes, he's either going to be a $34 million player, and you're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks, which the Bills have.
Yes.
So logically speaking, the Bills could make it happen if they wanted to.
Yeah.
I get it. Or you could sign him to, or you're gonna trade for this, you're gonna trade for this huge contract that you didn't negotiate.
No.
Or you can just wait for him to become a free agent.
It seems like somebody's gonna take it on the chin for Cousins.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say he's vindictive, but he wants the team to take it is Washington.
Yeah. He has no love for that organization right now. Nor should he.